something that I don't know about there, I'm afraid. So,
Oh, well, in that case, yes. I mean,
my ignorance.
this ties back into it. Is that there is a an arcana. There is dark and forbidden knowledge that is locked behind the gates of people who speak in memes. The founder of the New Player Initiative and
Pilots.
all over good guy. Either. How you doing?
Hey man, how you doing? You said new players initiative again, mate.
Damn it! Did I?
Yeah.
It's New Pilots Initiative. New Pilots Initiative. Take this as an opportunity to mock me, chat or Discord or what have you. I'm just don't mind me. I'm gonna sip my camo cup. Either go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about the New Players Initiative, New Pilots Initiative. God damn it!
Every time, man. So the funny thing is that we talked about this in the green room a minute ago, and the pilot did exactly the same thing there as well. Yeah, so I'm Commander Ether, founder of the New Pilots Initiative, Pilots, and yeah, myself and Commander Dalvon still run it. We started it more or less together um, just over 2 years ago now. Yeah.
Tell us about the organization, what it is that you guys do, and how you go about doing it.
So the background to this, obviously, we all know that Elite is a game with a not the most gentle of learning curves. I think it's fair to say.
No.
Um, I mean, it's gotten a bit better over the last few years as they've added in like the Nubula area and some extra tutorials and all that kind of stuff. Um, so I think that's helped. But when we first started out, the the sort of tutorial bit was sort of, here's a ship, good luck, and try not to die, which wasn't ideal for a lot of players. Um, so yeah, figured what the game really needed was a group who would help other players get their um, first steps into the galaxy and get to know how to fly and do fun stuff in the game. So that's the purpose of the New Pilots Initiative. In terms of how it works, we've got squadrons on all three platforms. So those are always accepting new members. We um, have our Discord set up. We've got a Facebook group, and we have mentors who are sort of very experienced, knowledgeable players who can teach on basically any aspect of the game for whatever people need to learn about.
How many members do you guys have?
Right now, we've got a little over 4,000 members on Discord, about 700 on Facebook. In terms of in-game, I think PS4's got somewhere around about 350 members. Xbox is about 220, and PC, as of the last time I checked, about 15 minutes ago before the servers went down, we were at 497. But the PC squadron, to be honest, we're constantly running into the 500 member limit, so we just keep kicking out inactive people every time we hit it.
Okay. So all those members, you said 4,000?
On the Discord, yeah.
Okay, on the Discord. How many of that is staff versus actual new pilots? I got it right. Thank you.
Yeah, you did. Well done.
Yeah, right.
We've got 25 mentors at the moment, active mentors. We've got about 1,000 people who are sort of members of other squadrons. Some of them very experienced players, specialists in different areas like PvP specialists or AXI specialists and so on. and a lot of people just come to hang out for the community and everything. Um,
What are the
but
classes you offer? Like
uh,
AXI, PvP, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah, so we do different events every week. So last week, sorry, this weekend just gone, we did a PvP training event. Um, Next weekend, we're going to be doing a bit of sorry, that's this coming weekend, a sort of exploration focused event, which is going to be going around the generation ships. Um, the one after that, we'll probably do a bug hunt masterclass. So we get some of our um, specialists who are AX specialists to teach how to hunt cyclopses and um, well, typically for a cyclops and a basilisk or something like that.
Hmm. Okay.
For those who are up for it.
Um, I don't want to linger on this subject, this particular subject too much, but it is important to mention since there are parallels and connections, and it ties into the last interview that I've done. Your group was responsible for taking in the new commanders that came out of the slaving incident. How's that working out?
Yeah, good. We've uh, rescued the numbers that were rescued are who joined the Discord. They just fitted right in with everyone else, really. They seem like good guys. Obviously, they had a bit of a strange start to their experience of the game, but yeah, they seem to be getting on fine.
Okay. Um, I did get a chance to talk to a few of them myself because of you. You introduced us and for follow up and information and stuff like that. And at least one of them said that they were grateful for the immersive experience of starting out as being a slave and then being liberated by a player organization.
Yeah,
What are your
I
What are
mean,
your thoughts on that?
yeah, I think I can see it being. I mean, it's a cool story for how you got into a game, right?
Right?
Um, so yeah, I can see that that makes sense. It's one of those things where I think you probably wouldn't want to be stuck out there for, you know,
Very
weeks at
long,
a
yeah,
time.
but it's a great prologue, right? You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, not many
Um,
people have been kidnapped in a computer game, right?
so the funny thing is that a lot of people were saying this is terrible regarding the slaving incident, this is terrible, et cetera, et cetera. Then there's the flip side of the coin where people are saying this is actually incredibly immersive, et cetera. And I wish that more player groups could take advantage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I've actually come to find that I'm a little bit more in the middle than some others. It's I don't have an extreme view on it. On one hand, I very much would like, for more player engagement, et cetera, et cetera. But on the flip side, yeah, maybe not, you know, so much from people who are actively manipulating, et cetera. Why do I keep saying et cetera? Players who are actively manipulating other actual people. So I mean, the idea of volunteering out of game to go role play as a slave and maybe break your way out seems kind of more of a fun concept, like a theme park ride, you know?
Yeah, I can see something like that being the case. Um, I think the I don't know. This was a really complex thing because there was a lot of different stuff going on with the situation with these sort of in quotes slavers.
Yeah,
Um, there's accusations of all kinds about sort of abusive behavior and things like that going on in the background.
that's my
Um,
problem with it. Yeah,
and that's where, and like, I don't know how how much that influenced FDev's decision on the solo banning them. Um, like, if they were doing that kind of stuff in game, I think that would probably have played quite a strong hand in it. And obviously, FDev are the only people who are ever going to know whether that's what they did or not. So
true. And we can't speculate, obviously, and but
yeah,
I think with a few tweaks. something like that could organically exist inside of Elite, and
Yeah.
we wouldn't
Now,
have to. Yeah.
so this is something that I thought about at the time, was that this could have been a great use of the rumored feature that FDev built into the discoveries on the galaxy map. Because you've
Hmm.
got the discovered and confirmed, and there's the rumored category for things, which I don't think we've ever seen anything be rumored. Um, and they could have used that to give rescuers like ourselves hints as to where we could find these guys, and then rescue the victims. But that would have been quite cool and organic potentially. But
I would
um,
have enjoyed that. Yeah, immensely. All right. So I want to jump into the nitty gritty here. As someone who has built an organization around supporting new pilots entering Elite, I would like to know what you would like to see improved about the new player experience. And we're going to split it up here a bit with what can Frontier do and what should Frontier do. So basically, your wish list plus things that you think should definitely and desperately be added to improve the new player experience.
um, that's an interesting one. I think what I've ended up doing is writing a sort of getting started guide, um, which is intended to sort of pick up from the point where the tutorial leaves off. Um, because I think there's a huge amount of stuff that the tutorial doesn't teach you about, even really basic stuff about supercruise mechanics, and like the number of times that we get. I mean, one of the most common questions we get in our ask and answer channel on the Discord is, I'm trying to jump to this star system and it won't jump. What's going on? And 9 times out of 10, they're close to a planet and they're trying to jump through the planet, and they don't know that they can't do that. So just simple stuff like that, which the tutorial could teach you by showing you, as opposed to somebody struggling for 10 minutes and then coming to a Discord like ours and asking somebody and getting, yeah, you just need to super cruise away a little bit and then you'll be fine.
Okay.
A lot of those simple lessons would be really helpful for people in the early stages when they're getting their head around the game, I think.
I find that myself personally that I am so far removed from the new player experience that when I go back and I try to wrap my head around it, or when someone asks me a question, I'm like, oh well, you need to, and I'll stop and I realize the wealth, the depth of information that has to be known in order to get from point A to point B, and it's second nature to me and pretty much anybody who's played for more than a couple hundred hours. But it would be mountainous for a new player, and I don't even know where to begin to explain. Oh well, first you need to spend 30 hours over on ED tutorials or with the new pilots initiative, and they'll okay. Already it's a failure at that point. The
Yeah.
concept of talking with you, and specifically someone who works with new pilots all the time, I like that you might have a perspective of what needs to be changed. So small things like a small little blurb where it kind of freezes the game and says you need to have a clear line of sight to your next jump point. That's great. And so okay, someone has learned that lesson relatively quickly. Now I understand that the UI, does that dotted circle in order to convey the same message, but obviously not effectively.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. Do you have anything else?
Um, I think it would be really useful to have more teaching them about basic flight controls. Again, there's a big step change in difficulty at the point where somebody gets rid of their docking computer, and then they don't. The game hasn't taught them anything about thruster control really at this point yet. and suddenly they're trying to land using only their main engines. Um, and yeah, that like a lot of people really run into a wall there immediately.
Mm.
And of course, immediately after that, you've got into like uh, combat and stuff like that, where again, people are just like, I can't turn fast enough because the game doesn't ever tell you about, the blue zone. It doesn't tell you about um, how to use the thrusters tactically. I mean, even the sort of in quotes tutorials, the combat tutorials and stuff like that, they don't teach you anything about how to maneuver. Like you say, breaking the game down and having it pause and then say, okay, in this position you need to um, thrust down and pitch up so that you turn faster, all that kind of stuff. There's just nothing about it. Um, so yeah, getting some basic um, tutorials like that, using the same kind of techniques that they do for the tutorials they've got, whereby you have essentially a curated scenario that they've set up, right? Um, so the game
Yeah.
can take control of your ship for you and position you in a certain position, and then tell you what to do to get to where they need you to get for the next bit of the tutorial. I think that'd be really valuable.
If someone from FDev approached you and said, "Hey, do you have a list of ideas that you could possibly give us, or any recommendations on how to improve the new player experience?" Do you think you would work with them and give them that opportunity?
Absolutely, yeah, that'd be great. More than
It's
happy
it's a
to.
bit of a softball there, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Um, how would you like to pass on that information? So let's say that FDev did actually, approach you, say, hey, can you give us a concise list of, improvements for new players? How would you how would you like to pass on that information? Do you understand
Well,
what I'm asking?
you mean it in game?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think with games, the best way to do tutorials always is to get the pilot to do it. Um, uh, like some of the people who I've like taught their first manual landings and stuff like that, I've literally positioned myself, gone into the station with them, told them which controls to use and how to position themselves, and watch them do it, because that's so much better way to learn how to do it than anything else. And I think FDev have got the tools to do this. They can do whatever they want. So they can get you to position yourself and then tell you which control commands to use and all the rest of it. And to be fair, it doesn't help that the sort of default control setup isn't terribly good. Um, So, to be fair, Elite's a difficult game to have a default control setup for, because some people are on
Right.
mouse and keyboard, some people are on HOTAS, some people are using joystick and keyboard, etc. Some people are using
Yeah.
game pads. So, um, it isn't an easy one to solve that, but having um, the game sort of stop and tell you, show you how to do these maneuvers by getting you to do them. Like I say, basic ones like thrusting down and pitching up at the same time to get your target into your reticle as quickly as you can, all that kind of stuff. Um,
It's
I think
been a
really
hot
help.
minute since I've done the new player experience, but I'm pretty sure the revamped tutorial does do the up, down, look left, look right, roll, this and that, forwards,
It
backwards
does,
one
yeah.
at least. Yeah, okay. So I mean, yeah, just an expansion on that though would probably be your primary ask, or
Yeah, in terms of flight controls, definitely
okay,
um,
all right,
that would be the best thing that they could do for that, I think. And then taking that and then applying it to a combat situation a little bit, so they can see, okay, so this is how I'm going to maneuver so that I can turn fast enough to keep up with this target and stuff like that.
okay. Um, now I did kind of lead in with this, but there was a reason for it. I'd asked you if a Frontier person approached you and regarding this, you'd say yes. Have you already spoken to a Frontier rep about making improvements?
No, they haven't approached us about that. I mean,
Okay.
I've spoken to them about some other issues over time, but nothing to do with that now.
Then I'll follow up. Have you signed an NDA with Frontier?
No.
Okay. So it's just a roundabout way to ask if you if you know something we don't.
Sadly not, no.
Well,
Much as I would like to say yes, but no.
I mean, I would too, but here we are. Do you believe there will be any changes to the new player experience in Odyssey? I mean, aside from the obvious ones of, or at least, I would assume so, right? There's going to be a whole new tutorial for walking around, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
that's
okay. I think they're going to expand it to add on a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know whether they're going to revamp the existing stuff for the space flight kind of thing. I think it would be good. I think they could build a lot on what they've got, which would make the game a lot more approachable for the very large numbers of new players we're hopefully going to get. Because I do fear that we may end up with a lot of players who just go approach it as an FPS and don't pay attention to the spaceflight side of things. Which pros and cons, I guess.
I mean, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, and I've said this to a number of people. I'm going to take one of my spare accounts that's not really doing anything. I'm going to re-roll it, and I'm going to see exactly how long I can go without actually getting into a ship or buying one or flying one.
Yeah.
Just to see just to see what that experience is like, and if it's possible even. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead.
I imagine it will be. I think that they're going to be specifically designing this because I think one of their streams about it said that they were specifically aiming for that to be at least possible.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Optimal.
I'm going to break my own rule here and take a question from chat simply because I want to know too. I one of my characters I roll, specifically this one, the one that's on screen at the moment, is forbidden from using third-party tools. So I can only go and traverse through the universe using what's in-game and only the information that I have in my head, which really turned out to be way too much anyway, and what's in-game. And it was still desperately difficult. Do you think that the new player experience from Frontier should encourage the use of third-party tools like EDDB or Inara or Spanch or whatever?
I can understand why they don't at the moment. Just
oh
because,
yeah, me too.
Yeah. But I think I would rather see Frontier improve the in-game tools rather than encourage players to lean on the external ones. I mean, in practice, we all do anyway, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't take a huge amount of time before most players discover some of the external tools, and then you rapidly find all of the others. So yeah, I don't think I see Frontier like leaning on external tools at all. But I wish they could move some of them in game, like Coriolis or EDSY, ED Shipyard. Being able to design a ship in game and see what all the stats are before you can build it makes perfect sense, and yet we can't do it. And being able to save builds and rapidly change between them, I mean, yeah, it would make so much sense for the game and make it a lot more user-friendly in the ship design sense. But
yeah, it really would. But I mean, on the flip side, and this is something I kind of touched with, what would you like to see added? Personally, I would love to see them hire the dev for EDDB or the devs for Inara or the devs for Spanch, and have them organically integrate those tools into the game if they're not willing to do it themselves. But I think they've made it clear over the years that A, that's not going to happen, and B, they're not going to give us an in-game equivalent, which is weird to me. Is it fair?
Well, it's fair that they're not going to merge those things into the game, because I think they've got enough issues with their managing their enormous code base at the moment as it is. There's also an argument to say that the community does a very good job of managing these things themselves.
But is it their responsibility?
No, not at all. But do we do a good job to it anyway? I'd argue we do.
See, I would make the argument that it's FDev's responsibility to make tools like that available. But then again, I mean, look, they're not putting out notices saying, "Hey, stop data mining our game and providing, players with additional access." And in fact, they are actively helping those devs have access and develop those tools. So, I mean, it's passive endorsement versus active endorsement. And yeah, I guess all things considered, this isn't the worst scenario, but at the same time, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. That's all.
Yeah, no, I think, I don't know what the developers of these other tools like. I mean, do they even want to go and work for Frontier? Do they want to turn this into a job? I don't know.
That's a better question. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to touch on something that you did mention before. I noticed that you did, if you go to the Inara page for the New Pilots Initiative, that there is a pretty concise opening guide for the faction and in the documents section.
Yeah.
How much additional training beyond that document is available from the staff on the Discord server?
I mean, we teach people anything they want to know, basically. One of the things we tried to do very early on when the squadron was new was you tried to set up sort of standardized little mini training courses that we would take people through. The problem we found with that was that everyone's in a different place when they end up joining the Discord, and your knowledge, everybody's knowledge is different in different areas. So you get one new player who may know, like, have worked out all the supercruise mechanics and everything, but have no idea about how any of the combat stuff works. And the next one's completely the opposite. So running them through a standard sort of training course, you end up always teaching people to suck eggs in one area and then not telling them something that they need to know in another area. So what we've ended up doing instead of that is sort of offering advice on a one-to-one basis. If people have a specific question, we've got our ask and answer question channel, which typically gets people an answer to basically anything that they ask a question about within a minute or two, pretty much 24 hours a day.
So it's the mentor system, yes.
Yeah, and then we also do the weekly training events. We pick specific areas, so that's more dedicated training, a bit like the sort of model of a training course that we were originally trying to do, but only like we define what the scope of it is in advance and say this is what we're going to be teaching on this course, and then people self-select to go on that course. For example, not this weekend just gone, but the one before that, we did a gank survival training course. So you work people through a sort of mini syllabus of techniques for firstly designing your ship to be survivable, and then sort of awareness, and then the practical, like the technique for doing a gank escape, and then actually practicing it with like live fire exercises with real gankers.
Tell me more about the mentors.
What do you want to know?
All right. How many do you have on staff? What's the criteria for picking them? How are they, judged, rated? Are some mentors better than others?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So we've got 25 mentors on staff at the minute. And the way you get to become a mentor, typically we keep an eye on like who's being helpful, both on the Discord and in game, who's answering questions, who seems to know what they're talking about. Those people who seem to be have a good grasp of everything and happy to teach and have the right sort of mentality, I suppose, if you want to think of it like that, in terms of being patient, and because sometimes it can be quite I don't know. We've had a number of people who wanted to be mentors who were very impatient, and that doesn't really work very well if somebody's asking you questions that you think are obvious and they should just know. It doesn't help to tell them that that they should go and look it up. You're there to teach, so you should be answering these questions, kind of thing. So yeah, those people who seem to be to have the right kind of qualities, we'll send them ask them if they're interested, and if they are, we'll send them a application form. So we have a mentor application form using a Google form that people can fill out.
So it's basically on the fly judgment. You'll know it when you see it, type of thing, or?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, usually somebody's been a member of the group for usually quite a few months by the time they're being considered for becoming a mentor. So, we've had a reasonable amount of experience with them. So, yeah.
Okay. Is there a code of conduct for mentors?
Code of conduct is pretty much the same for all of our mentor members. We've got it listed up on our on the README section and on our Discord. Usual stuff, really. The mentors, we kind of asked them to be a bit more stringent in terms of sort of good etiquette, I suppose, in game. In terms of not, well, I mean, we've got a rule against cheating and combat logging and all that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, there are other mechanics that are a bit kind of cheesy, I suppose, like premium ammo, stuff like that. But which we kind of discourage people from using, but mostly just because it's a bit of a crutch.
I see. Okay. Obviously, this is based on inference. There is no point where a new player is no longer new and therefore kicked from the group. It's basically come join, stay as long as you want, type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a new members come and join us, and after a while, if they seem to know what they've learned a lot, we can promote them to promote. They can apply to be a veteran, so that again is just it's a rank in between the sort of new pilots and mentors. So
you've graduated.
Yeah. A lot of the time, like questions and answers and stuff, people winging up, we'll often have a veteran leading a wing of newer players and stuff like that, just to go, PvE, bounty hunting, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. In the documents section, it highlights that the org is strictly neutral. And so a quick and fun aside, because we pretty much always end up talking about it in some way, shape, or form. Is there a ganker course? or a Gankor mentor?
There's not a ganker course exactly. We do have PvP
Thanks for the raid.
players,
Sorry.
gankers. Um, we've got several PvP players who are staff members, mentors.
Okay.
Yeah, it's part of what keeps Elite dangerous. So
I agree. No, I mean, I'm right there with you. Um, I mean, I specifically brought up the concept of, advanced mechanic lessons and course levels and gankers because I wonder if NEWP teaches the parts of Elite that are kind of broken. So, for instance, like gankers have taught me some of the most important lessons I've learned from Elite. How the engineering multiplier can be broken, or how some modules never worked correctly in the first place, or how some ships like the Anaconda have that bug with one of their slots so certain modules don't register correctly. And it's often the case that, the guys who spend their time griefing everybody else, unfortunately, have the most experience with the finer points of the game. And I like the possibility that there might be an alternative way of gaining that information and knowledge without having to embrace the culture of posting Pepe memes every 3 minutes. And no offense to anybody who's listening if that's your thing, but I am not a 13-year-old autist. I am a full-grown autist who owns GME stock. So, cocaine bears strong together. What do you think? Do you guys teach that kind of information? Do you have the nitty-gritty arcana that's present from the griefers without actually having to, be posting gifs of random deep-fried memes?
I hope so. If you hang around in some of our channels, particularly the PvP channels, where players who are just trying to kind of get into PvP and learning about all the complexities of mechanics and maths that go into maximizing the effectiveness and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, the guys there have got an incredible depth of knowledge about all of this stuff. We specifically try to avoid anything which is exploits or abuse of unintended mechanics, all that kind of stuff, because I don't think that's healthy for the game. So that's kind of we go very deeply into the depths of all of the legitimate gameplay as far as we can see it, but avoid anything which is abusive.
So that's interesting to me, and that's actually what I was touching on. Is there a way to separate the concept that certain mechanics that can be abused? Is there a way of separating that from the culture of abuse? So, in other words, you don't want to teach anything that might be exploitative, but that's exactly what I'm talking about, is that there's a reason that the meta FDL is the meta. And, and because certain roles of engineering can be broken. I mean...
That's not breaking the rules of the game from my point of view. That's just that is... there are ships that are, at least in a 1v1, comparable to an FDL. But yeah, there's a reason why the FDL dominates any kind of competitive wing fights and stuff like that, because it's the most suitable for that specific role. And I don't see that as being broken. That's just, that's the best ship for that activity, in the same way that the cutter is the best ship for trading.
Oh, wow. I disagree entirely. The concept that, and I'm going to take it back to breaking engineering again, is that you can break engineering. It's obviously not supposed to do the things that it does, where if you hit into the negative values, all of a sudden it gets positive again. And you can manipulate the system to basically make yourself nigh invulnerable if you do it right. And certain chips are more susceptible to that kind of tomfoolery.
And maybe talking about something that I don't know about there, I'm afraid.
Oh, well, in that case, yes. I mean, this ties back into it. Is that there is a an arcana. There is dark and forbidden knowledge that is locked behind the gates of people who speak in memes. In
that case, no. I'm afraid I don't think any of us can teach about how to break those things, and I don't think we would, even if we. Well, some of our mentors may. Different guys know about different stuff, but
yeah, I mean, how could you defend against it if you don't teach it? Oh my God! I just pitched the defense against the dark arts teacher. Oh. No, I think it's an interesting question because I would like to theoretically side with you here, in that I don't want to exploit the game. I don't want to teach others to exploit the game, and I would like us all to get along, and or at least relatively on the surface. And then if we want to role play and you would want to be arch villains that way, or gankers or whatever, that's fine too. And I think conceptually, gankers kind of want to play on that level too. Is that once you get past all the randomness and the potential racism, once you sit down and start talking to them one-on-one, they seem to be generally good people. They're actually quite friendly. It's just fun to tick people off. They're playing the game. If the other person gets pissed off, you've won. But sitting down and talking to people, we're all just people. And it's unfortunate that it seems to be this knowledge is one-sided. Whose fault is this? Is it the fault of the ganker for using this information to grief other players? Is it the fault of FDev for not patching the holes the ganker has pointed out, which, by the way, they all publicly do? Is it our fault, or by extension, I don't want to say your fault or fault, quote unquote, for not teaching that same information to protect against that, protect against it? Who's to blame here, or what should change?
I've got to blame FDev for that one. Because, I mean, ultimately, they've designed a system, and that system should be consistent and ideally reasonably balanced, right? If you've got these kinds of holes which are exploitable, and we all know that, about different ones, the premium ammo exploit, etc. These are problems that should ultimately be fixed. And if these have been around for a while and FDev haven't fixed them, I've got to blame FDev for that one.
I mean, I personally know of a number of exploits that have never been patched. Not ever. And the philosophy, because I used to be very, goddamn gankers, blah, 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 blah. But I sat down with a few of them. I talked to them like people, and, they pointed these out. And most importantly, some of the original ones, sat me down and said, do you know why we're doing this? I said, no. You're just being assholes. I said, no, we're trying to make a point. If I submit tickets all day long and say, this is broken, this is broken, this is broken, gets nothing done. But if I sit there and start, annihilating an entire system and killing every single person in it, and nobody can touch me, that's a surefire way to get the problem fixed. It's kind of got a point,
Yeah, doesn't seem to have worked, at least not in 100% of cases, does it?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not 100% effective, I'll give you that. And I didn't mean to shift the conversation totally to ganking either. It's just, I find it an interesting schism between the communities of Elite. And I was wondering if there was a way to, like I said, pass on that information without the culture?
Yeah, as I say, I don't know about the specific thing you're talking about there, but we certainly have quite a few gankers on the Discord server who are happy to teach all kinds of stuff in terms of max DPS builds and all that kind of thing. Again, we do try to keep it within avoiding the exploits, all that kind of stuff. But they certainly are aware of plenty of them. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on then, because I feel like I may have steamrolled you here. Do you have a place that you would like to see NEWP get to? And by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this. NEWP is the New Pilots Initiative. Thank God I keep doing that right now. It's NEWP. NEWP, NEWP. Do you have a place that you would like to see NEWP get to?
Sort of a long-term strategic goal kind of thing.
Yeah.
I kind of view our sort of purpose as it's one of those things that's just ongoing, because as the game changes, the things that players need to be taught and learn about change as well. And obviously with Odyssey coming, I'm expecting there to be a massive raft of stuff that we need to work out how to teach people as well, because Elite's a complex game, and even if FDev do go and fix all their tutorials and improve them in the best way they possibly can, there's still going to be a need for players to practice all this stuff. And FDev are never going to be able to teach people how to survive some of the game situations, and especially taking ganking for an example, because anything that they teach people, the gankers will then change their tactics. So that's
it's a natural order of things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's predator prey kind of scenario. So I kind of view it as an ongoing natural kind of development where we're just going to continue to adapt as the game adapts and grows, and keep kind of trying to provide this service to the community to keep helping newbies out and keep the game as healthy as we can. So I don't know if that answers your questions. It's not really an end game state, I suppose. I don't know if there can be an end game state to a group which is essentially a sort of a flight school.
Actually, that's a perfect answer to a whole different question. Is there an answer to that question? I don't think there is. No, it's good. It's if you wanted to nitpick about it, I mean, is there any formation bureaucratic infrastructure you'd like to see for onboarding, or would you like more advertisements or officially endorsed advertisements, to recommend new players for the new pilots initiative? God damn, I was doing so well. Like the fuel rats have commercials, running in the stations.
That'd be really cool. I would absolutely love that. That would be
right.
A really nice piece of recognition. So that'd be cool.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to in Odyssey?
I don't know. It's just going to be a whole new side to the game, I think. And I mean, I love the BGS side of stuff. So I do a lot of the sort of strategic side of the gameplay. So I'm quite excited to see how all of the new tools that we get access to via Odyssey mean we can start manipulating the BGS in different ways. It should be fun. Really interested in the new planet tech as well. I read the Q&A about how they're doing the new planet tech, which sounds really cool. So Yeah, I think those are probably the two big highlights for me. Um,
New planet tech, and you think we're gonna get any new ships?
hope so.
I hope so too.
Going back to what we were talking about before, it'd be good to have a new medium ship that can compete with the FDL. Maybe that'd be good.
I want an Imperial Explorer. I do. I want the Imperial Explorer. I want a medium Imperial
You've got
ship.
what's a courier? It's a great exploration ship. Come on,
Courier is a small ship, and it's not that great. It's
it's my favorite.
fun. It's
Yeah,
fun. I will give you that, but it's not that great.
it's such a fun ship to fly there.
It's a
I
great
agree.
pirate ship.
It's not the best exploration ship, but it's a fun exploration ship.
Yeah, it is. You can definitely tweak it so that it can kind of do everything. I personally love using the thing as a pirate, one-off hit and run. Jump in, launch the hatch breaker, launch the collector, get your 2 or 3 tons of cargo because that's all the space you have, and then get the hell out of there.
I use it for PVE and occasionally PvP. Um, so yeah, it's a good ship. It's great
All
fun.
right. Can you share your build for a? Do you have a recommended new pilot's ship or build?
We've got a whole
Preferably
raft
both.
of them. You mean in general or for the eye courier?
Oh, well, in general, or the iCourier, if the iCourier is your choice.
We, on on our Discord and again on the Inara page, you'll see we've got a whole guide for ship builds. So we've got ship builds for trading, laser mining, deep core mining, exploration, PVE, AX, PvP.
I'm not asking what is the recommended for new pilots initiative. No. I want. What's your personal favorite of those?
For
Anything.
the eye courier. Oh, all right. My
Or for
favorite
the
ship.
iCourier or anything. Yeah.
My favorite ship, full stop, is the eye courier. I think it's
Oh,
just
I see.
fantastic. So yeah, I've got a build for that I can share if you're interested.
Oh, please do. Or you could just tell us the highlights. Or you could drop us a link. Drop me a link, and I'll throw it in the chat.
Yeah, can do. I'll dig it up a sec. It's a speedy boy, basically. It's 850 meters per second combat fitted courier.
Nice. Very cool.
It's a lot of fun to fly, and it's combat viable, so it's good.
Strictly PVE or PvP too?
I mean, you can do anything in anything, right? It's
What?
got railgun beam lasers, so, but it's never going to stand up against a sort of meta PvP ship. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Where do you want me to check this link? I'll.
Right here is fine in the chat.
Okay. There you go.
I literally just typed right, so. All right, so like right here, as if you can see it. All right, I'm gonna put that link in the Twitch chat, and we're gonna go ahead and pull it up.
I'm gonna get criticized over my design choices there, like hell, I bet.
Well, a little bit, yeah. We're gonna scrutinize just a little bit. Okay. Interesting choice with the 2A power plant, the enhanced performance thrusters. Okay, power distributor is charge enhanced. Okay. Lightweighted sensors. Why not? Yeah. Fuel scoop for a combat vessel.
Just so I can keep the weight down, because you notice it's got a 2C fuel tank. So, and I've tried so hard to make sure that this is light enough to keep the speed at maximum. So I ended up with 2 empty size 3 slots. So just chucked a fuel scoop and a cargo rack in there.
Lightweight super penetrator railguns. And a grade 5 thermal vent beam. Oh, I suppose to keep yourself cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Heatsink, chaff, shield. Why the chaff?
PvE
Just in
stuff.
general? Oh, okay. Shield booster with resistance augmented and another resistance augmented. You might want to consider swapping out the second resistance augmented for a. Oh, thanks for that sub. Or
Jeez.
the second. Somebody found the text to speech. Switching out the second resistance augmented shield booster for a. Whatchamacallit? A. Can't remember the thing now.
I'm gonna say heavy duty.
Yeah, heavy duty.
It's too heavy.
Oh, for the. Well, why is your power plant so undersized?
It's too heavy.
Okay. All right.
The,
I mean,
the whole
hey, if
point
it
of this
works for
build,
you.
the whole point of this build, I mean, it's just intended to be a fun build, right? So
Yeah.
it's just to keep that boost speed at 851 meters per second. So anything that weighs anything more than this starts to eat into that. So
Yeah. I mean, if you can
It-
run quick enough, no one can hit you. What does it matter? Yeah.
I know this is very much not an optimized build, but bloody good fun to fly.
Oh, yeah, I imagine. That's all that matters. As long as you're having fun, that's all good. All right. If someone is interested in joining NEWP or becoming a mentor, how can they go about doing that?
Come and join the Discord. Join us in game if you like.
All right, so we're gonna open up the conversation a little bit to the floor here, guys. If you have any questions for either the founder of the New Pilots Initiative, feel free to ask him. Yes, I know, right? I'm particularly proud of myself today. Go ahead and ask him in the chat, and we'll see if we're gonna get some of those answered. Guys, is there like a regular ferry from Colonia back to the bubble? There are actually a series of carriers that register themselves to going back and forth and set up basically a chain along the route. I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head. Do you remember?
No, I don't know. I mean, we've run separate, like what we call the Colonia Express, where we run three of them now. I think we're just basically advertise in advance and do a fast track to Colonia, which has been good. But no, I don't know. I know the Fleet Carrier Owners Club Discord often have carriers advertised going one way and the other, so that's pretty good for that.
Okay. How do you feel about fleet carriers?
Mixed. I think they've added a lot of flexibility to the game, which is really good. I think there are some things that they could have been better for, which were a bit of a missed opportunity, I suppose. But yeah, I think in general they were a positive addition to the game.
I'm not sure I feel that way. The carrier spam on the maps, they're too expensive. You don't really own them. They kind of look ugly to me, if I'm honest. Same, it looks like with someone in the chat. I don't think they're fully cooked, and I don't like the lack of interactivity you have with them. I will admit to being absolutely wrong for how useful they could be. It is definitely useful if you want to participate in CGs and moving things, or if you just want to park one found outside a local mining hotspot and buy a little bit lower than what you know the market is, and people will sell to you. You can make a good amount of money just parking your fleet carrier somewhere and then moving it at the end of the week. But
yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I think what we use them for more than anything else is running squadron events, basically. So
yeah.
If we want to take, 20 new players out to the Guardian sites and help them unlock the Guardian FSD booster, then yeah,
Very
great.
useful.
We can all go there together at the same time. everybody can go and get what they need. Everyone can come back, and we can help them all come back to the
Agreed.
bubble again. Taking people out to the Crystal Gardens sites, the same thing, so on and so forth. We've just done our biggest exploration event we've ever done, which was the Boundless. Went from the bubble to Colonia to Sagittarius A to Beagle Point, back to the Colonia, and then back to the bubble. And
Wow.
essentially what that did is it got a lot of players into exploration who hadn't really done it before, because it took all the sort of drudgery, the legwork of having to travel, go in this direction for the next 3 hours or whatever, out of the trip, so that they could just get on and then come back to the game the next day. Ta-da, you're in Colonia, and you can explore around that area. You've got other people with you. So yeah, I think that's got quite a reasonable number of our members into exploration who weren't before, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, I see people arguing in the chat. He says, well, if you take the scenic route and you do it first, you get a bonus for exploration data, and you're teaching them to do it the right way, et cetera, et cetera. But I kind of see it is from your point of view too. Some people don't want to be flung into the deep end of the pool. They would like to be, take a dip in it first. Let's hop on a carrier, go see something pretty. Oh, I can do this myself without having to wait for a carrier. Okay, cool. And then they might be tempted to explore even more. I think that's probably the better way to do it. I think you're doing it right. Yes, by the way, thank you for that sub. Rage Wild, yes, I did mean the DSSA. And somebody else mentioned that carriers, the Fleet Carriers Owners Discord does have a schedule for carriers going to and from Colonia. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's actually very useful too. If you, like me, keep forgetting to put a AFMU on your ship, like this one, the current one you're looking at, just keeps slipping my mind. So yeah, I stay out here till I can explode, or till I do explode. Guys, any more questions for either here? He's being very kind. He sat through my gauntlet of ridiculously hard non-fluff questions, and if you have any for him that are preferably of a nicer nature, a little bit less aggressive, that'd be great. Oh, anyway, what are you up to lately?
In game, in our squadron, or what
Any way you want to answer it. Any way you want to answer it.
Well, we're working on building ourselves a website, so that's taken up some effort recently. We're not quite ready for releasing that yet, but hopefully not too much longer. We'll have at least the shell of a website available. The whole thing with the sort of slaver operation took a huge amount of our time, to be honest, and kind of forced us to focus on that. We've for a little while, but yeah, now we're moving forward, trying to get the website up and running. Yeah, that's probably our next big thing we're working on, really.
Okay. They want to Beam Me Up 196 is the server specifically for new pilots. We did kind of discuss that.
Yeah, we've got all sorts on there, to be honest. And it's open to everybody, whether they're from, whether you're already in a different squadron, or if you're want to join ours, or you're independent, or anything really. Anybody's welcome there, as long as you sort of obey the rules of the server. Everybody's welcome.
What's Biglerer? What's the best ship, and why is it the Asp Scout?
Because nobody expects it.
Nobody expects the Asp Scout. Yeah, okay. What's the best way to start this game?
Um, trying things out, I think. I think there's an awful lot of guides out there which tell you like the best way to start Elite Dangerous and all that kind of stuff. Um, I've run into a lot of players who've been trying to follow one of those guides and found it painful, but having started it, thought that they should carry it through to the end. And my answer has always been, if you're not enjoying it, stop doing it, do something
Yep.
else. Elite's a game which has got loads and loads of different paths that you can follow and ways of doing stuff. So do something you enjoy rather than trying to follow somebody else's model of an optimized path through the game.
Yeah. The best advice I ever gotten is the one I passed on in my own video, which is, pick something, go for it as long as you like, make sure you're having fun, and when you're done, pick something else and do it again. Build a ship to do exactly what you want and do it until you don't want to anymore. Look around, see who you're with, have fun, learn how to survive. It's the best way to go. Credits mean nothing. Okay, whatever. The best way to get into going is to multi-crew with someone with a decent. I disagree with that, actually.
Yeah,
Thomas,
so
thanks for that sub. Yeah, don't do that. Credits are space pesos.
Multicrew is not great in my opinion, and all it does is it helps somebody else fly their ship rather than teaching you how to fly yours. So yeah. I don't see that as being fantastically helpful. I mean, you can use it as a teaching tool for stuff, but you're better off teaching somebody how to do what they need to do using their ship rather than using your fighter.
Yeah. Or if you want to basically teach someone how to use a fighter, that's actually a good way to do that.
Sure.
Pilot, should I drink Bailey's or gin? Bailey's. I'm saying if you want to see what Elite has to offer. Now, see, I would disagree with that, actually, is that I would argue that his methodology of let's take a fleet carrier, everyone dock, we'll go fling you out to the middle of nowhere, you're safe, you can explore at your leisure and come back and can make mistakes on your own, and yeah, you still have a place to go back to, and you're not 14,000 light years from where you died. Always a plus. Could I join and get paid? And oh, saint. We're asking questions of for Ether here. He's the founder of the New Pilots Initiative. But no, as far as the cocaine bears, I mean, we don't get the cocaine. Again, it all goes towards the bear. We're not worthy. The bear gets all of it. I can't make it more clear than that, guys. That was the way I did it, and I love it. Oh, all right. Anyway, Either, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for sitting and tolerating my questions and joining us here today. I do appreciate it.
No problem at all. Thank you for having me on. It's been fun.
Yeah. Take it easy, man.
Cheers, mate.